Hi there. Welcome to another edition of TokStocks. I'm your host, Keir Reynolds, and today we're lucky enough to catch up with Jim McDonald, President and CEO for Kootenay Silver. Trades on the TSX Venture Exchange with the ticker KTN. Hey, how you doing today, Jim?
Great, Keir. How are you?
Hey, I'm fabulous. Pretty wild markets that we've got. Just today's Tuesday, February 3rd, when we're recording this, and well, it looks like it's game on again for metals. We've had some pretty big intraday sort of swings. And well, I'm really excited to sort of catch up and hear what you guys have been up to at Kootenay. It's been, you've been making lots of progress. You got a financing that you're just underway on, a bought deal, if I'm not mistaken, no warrant. We like to see those.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll catch up and I'll ask you lots of questions all about it. But maybe just a quick recap since we first kind of started doing this. This is our third interview for those keeping score, and we first met you back in November 2024. Your share, that's the first time that we did the video, first one, and your shares are around $1 a share. Just recently, with a big run up of the silver price, and you guys have good leverage to silver, your shares are traded up to a high of 255. So over 150% potential return if a shareholder is able to time their entry and exit perfect. So not too shabby. Good job.
Yeah, not too bad. It was silver market going our way. Financings are a lot easier to access, and we've got lots of work going on, as you pointed out. Lots of leverage in silver price. We've got 4 deposits, of course, totaling 214 million ounces of measured indicated silver equivalent, and another 109 million in the inferred category. So tremendous leverage to the silver price. The last time we spoke, we just put out a maiden resource on our most recent discovery, Colombo, which is our best one to date because of the potential profit margin on the ounces that we're finding. High grade, wide widths, so the kind of ounces can work at any kind of silver price. And here we are in an incredible silver bull market suddenly. So we financed on that last year for a 50,000 meter drill program to move that towards doubling the size of that resource, because resource is open-ended in all directions. All the zones are open-ended. And we are about 1/3 of the way into that 50,000 meter drill program, all expansion drilling, looking to make it bigger, push it towards our next objective, which is get it up to 100 million ounces and then start looking at economic studies. In the meanwhile, silver price has taken off big way, as we all know. Really taken off quicker than our expectations. We've been believers in saying for several years that silver is going to test that old high, get through the old high of the low 50s. And then when it does, it's anyone's guess what happens and where it goes. Now we're seeing what happens. It really went hard and fast. But what it means is that we've been on this discovery of Colombo really focused on it because it is the type of project that works at almost any kind of silver price as long as we get enough ounces built up there to support a mine. But in the meanwhile, we had prepared our other 3 deposits to start being advanced when we get into a silver bull market. Well, now we're there. And so we've taken the first of those 3, the one called Cigarra, and it's got 51.5 million ounces in measured indicated and another 11 in inferred, all in an open pit shell. Sits right at surface. And we're doing a preliminary economic assessment on it now. We expect that in Q2. And if we get the results we expect, we're going to have some very positive looking numbers, and then we'll make a decision from there. Hopefully that decision is, hey, we need to go right to pre-feasibility or feasibility. And we'd like to exit the year like on kind of 2 things. Finish that drilling on the new discovery Colombo, put on a resource update on it. Hopefully we're hitting that 100 million ounce target or getting close to it. And then at the same time have a positive economic study on Cigarra showing, hey, we've got ounces over here in this other deposit that are looking like they're already economic and we need to build a mine and do the studies to back that up. so that we're transitioning from becoming a discoverer, building ounces through the drill bit, to a developer and discoverer. Developer with a positive looking project and a whole pipeline of 3 other deposits right behind it.
Excellent. Well, lots to unpack there. So I got a couple questions for you. So your portfolio of projects, for those that may have not caught our previous 2 videos, where are they? Where are your projects located?
Yeah, so it's all in Mexico. We've been exploring in Mexico since 2005, and we've made these 4 discoveries. 3 discoveries we've made ourselves, and 1 discovery was through acquisition. And they're all in northern Mexico. La Cigarra, we're doing the PEA on now, and the Colombo project, which is our most recent and flagship that we're got the big drill program on. Those 2 are in Chihuahua State. And they're along the famous Sierra Madre trend. That's the trend where most of the big silver mining districts in Mexico sit along that trend. Then the other 2 deposits are La Negra and Promontorio. They sit 7 kilometers apart, and they're off to the west in southern Sonora State.
And how are those states within Mexico to sort of operate? Obviously, there's been a bit of news sort of out of Mexico related to another silver co having a little bit of issue. As you indicated, you've been successfully exploring for 20 odd years down there. But in terms of where your projects are located, what's the environment like to operate there?
Yeah, so we're in Chihuahua State and Sonora State, and both those are 2 of the best mining states to be in, or 2 of the top 3, I would say, in my opinion. And really good areas to work in for mining. As far as mining goes, the specific areas that our projects are in are secure areas. They're not areas known for a lot of turmoil and issues. So we're well situated. Colombo is really well situated, just off a highway. There's no through-going roads. It's a very secure area, big agricultural land all around us. And so we're pretty good shape with regards to that.
Collectively, if you could sort of add all these ounces together before your 4 projects and the work that you guys are sort of doing, you're going to be approaching, 400, 500 million equivalent ounces if you were to able to add all your categories together. I know you can't, but I'm going to do such a thing. So pretty big resource base. And like you indicated, Columba, you put out a pretty impressive maiden resource estimate there last summer. And then you've gone and how much drilling are you doing? I think I heard some 50,000 meters or something.
Yeah, so Colombo, 50,000 meters. We're about 15,000 meters completed now. 1,000 meters doubles what we did before this program started. So the resource statement we put out, the maiden resource of 54 million ounces at Colombo, was entailed 53,000 meters of drilling. So we're doubling the amount of drilling, and we're looking to push that number up as close as to 100 million ounces as we can get on this current round. We've had 1 release out on the drill results so far, and we're pretty close to another. So we'll be drilling steady to the end of the year, and we'll be seeing drill results in a pretty systematic manner coming out from now to the end of the year at Colombo.
And for viewers that aren't familiar on the project, what type of project is it? Is it like a vein sort of system? What have you guys sort of traced along the sort of surface, or how many veins have you sort of mapped? What's the exploration potential? What's kind of the geological setting, and what's the exploration potential other than what you just indicated?
Yeah, so classic Mexican vein system is high-grade veins, almost entirely preserved from any erosion at all. It's a textbook case of epithermal veins, preserved right from the very top edge of the system. So we're right at the top where everything's pinching out and disappearing. You go higher in elevation, any higher, you start to lose the veins, you lose your silver entirely. And the the veins are exposed in the erosional low of the property, and the erosional low happens to be an old volcano, an old caldera cone. So at the bottom of that cone, it has exposed the top of the veins where they become productive. Higher in elevation, when you start climbing up the hills in any direction, you start to lose those veins because you're literally above that top edge. You're up here somewhere instead of into the vein. So it really hasn't suffered any erosion, meaning whatever was deposited here originally is still sitting there. So really exciting from that aspect, really helpful from an exploration aspect because we know just where we are in that epithermal column. We're at the very top. As a rule of thumb, we have to drill down to an elevation around 1,750 meters above sea level to start hit good grade. Above that can be variable or no grade at all. So very straightforward in that manner. Then the sort of physical size in aerial extent of these veins is such that it certainly has the potential for 100 million ounces or even multiples of that. When you look at the footprint of the vein system, compare it to other more advanced and well-known, more sort of recent discoveries in Mexico, like the Panuco discovery, which is over 300 million ounces now. And Las Chispas, which was bought out by Coeur Mining this year and under operation, in fact, that was a resource of about 140 million ounces at the time. We have a similar footprint. So right at early stages of exploration, when we looked at the system, we thought, well, there's a shot there for that size. Now, the drilling we're doing has really augmented and enforced our belief in that. I mean, we've got 54 million ounces already. All the zones that we've identified so far are open-ended. This drill program is just basically stepping on a systematic grid pattern, roughly 100 meters at a time, till we find the edges of what we already have. Then we'll start moving on to the other targets. So this really strong vein system, some incredible widths. And we got some zones there up to 45 meters wide true width of over 200 grams per ton. And other intercepts like 16.5 meters is 650 grams per ton, for example, and 34 meters, a half kilo. So some, on average, it's about 5-6 meters wide. So that really helps with what the mining costs would be in that scenario as well. It improves it a lot. It puts you down in that, the potential for the lower quartile kind of production. It's got that potential. So really exciting. The veins classically will pinch and swell. So you have areas where they become very narrow, sometimes even close up and then open up again. So those fatten zones is really what you like to get into. That's where you really can make your money. And another thing is you've got in these vein systems, and really what we got is kind of a vein district. There's going to be some key structures there, some key veins that hold a whole bunch of ounces. And those areas of concentration are what make all the other zones you find really work. And the D vein for us is certainly one of those. In our maiden resource, 60% of the ounces were in that particular D vein, and some of the thickest, highest grades to date are from there. So that, we certainly have those kind of structures as well.
And you'd indicated that your first maiden resource was based on around 53,000 meters of drilling, and that this program that you're about a third of the way through right now is basically sort of like that again. How long did it take you to drill those first 53,000 meters on the Colombo? How many years?
Oh, the first 53,000. Well, we started, the first program was 2019. Up until last year, early last year, 2025.
So like 5-6 years to do your first 53,000, and then you're looking at less than a year to basically double it up.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a function of a couple things. The first couple drill programs first one was just to confirm the grades that were reported in the old mine. Then we confirmed that, so we knew we were onto something. Then the second program was to start stepping out, and by the third program, we're probing around more in some of the other structures, and we found the D vein is even better than the historically worked one. And also, silver prices ranging from anywhere from, I think, as low as 16.50 up to maybe 23, $24 at the time. So not a lot of appetite to be investing in the silver space. And so we were financing a bit at a time, just enough to get the next program done. Capital wasn't that available, and it was available at, low stock prices that we really didn't want to be issuing at, but we had to pay for the acquisition as well. So we were kind of forced into advancing as quickly as we could given the market conditions. So market conditions weren't allowing acceleration to go much faster than we did. But now that's changed, obviously.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, we've chatted before, so this isn't the first time. Colombo is sort of like your flagship exploration project, lots of exploration upside, lots of grade. Certainly one of those projects that you're hoping if you can get, plus 100 million ounces is one of those really desirable ones, either for you to develop or who knows, maybe somebody would want to snap that up at some point. And then you've also got La Cigarra, if I'm not mistaken, where you're doing your PEA and looking to really understand the economics of that project. Now, in terms
Yeah.
of that, what's that project sort of look like? You mentioned earlier that it's like open pit. What's the type of mineralization? What's the type of typical grade that you're looking at with that? And is that one pretty much like, is it still open? Does there remain an exploration upside, or you sort of think that you've kind of found a good sort of base case there for a potential mining operation that your PEA will talk about?
Yeah, so the La Cigarra sits in the famous Pearl district of Mexico, one of the big silver producing districts. In fact, we're on the mineral trend that comes out of it, the mines called Santa Barbara, San Francisco del Oro, about 30 kilometers to the south of us. And those mines have been producing for almost 500 years and have produced over 500 million ounces out of various veins there. They're still producing today. Grupo Mexico's down at a vertical depth of 2,000 meters. And this deposit we have is on the same structural trend. We're in a real strong structure over 10 kilometers long. As you follow it to the south, it disappears in the valley bottom, and then that trend reemerges in that old mining district. So our deposit, La Cigarra, sits right at surface. So there's tremendous upside here. Most of our holes are less than 150 vertical meters down. And much of that structure has been undrilled or underdrilled with shallow holes. So there's a lot of upside here. In fact, the pit shell that the resource sits within has a gap zone that we see. We call it the gap zone. We've got potential there to add another 20% or 30% ounces right within that resource area within that pit shell. So a lot of opportunity. We've always really liked La Cigarra. It's 102 grams, which is a pretty good open pit grade. But at silver hovering around for years, $20 to $25 wasn't going to be economic. Above 30, we did paper models on this. Above 30, it started to look pretty interesting. So now we're well past that. And so we're really excited to get a PA out there to start to show what the economic potential of this thing is.
And are you doing any exploration work on that project outside of like the PEA? Are you continuing to do any? Are you drilling into the gap zone? Will you do any drilling? What's the plan for the project for 2026?
Yeah, we're laying plans for that out. First, we'll get this PEA out in Q2. And we've got drill permits in place, in fact, at La Cigarra. And so we'll be laying a drill plan out for that gap area. We'll have the PEA out first, mind you, and then have a look at that, and then formulate the next set of steps for La Cigarra.
Excellent. Are you doing any other exploration work on any of your other two projects that we haven't talked about?
No, not at the moment. No, we're not. We're evaluating them, deciding what needs to be done given the silver environment, and we'll lay plans out systematically here, say in a sequential manner.
So maybe just a question that I often hear investors talk about. Well, it's a question we're getting recently. With metal prices sort of going parabolic and going up quite a bit, um, what sort of metal prices are sort of like used in like a PEA? Like you're not going to be, using $5,000 gold and $100 silver, but what do you do as a company? When you're doing that, do they take like an average? Maybe you could just explain for some of the retail allows.
Yeah, so industry guidelines are to use a trailing average. So generally for an economic study, you're using something like a 3-year trailing average. And then you can provide sensitivity to that. So you provide a sensitivity table that you create your base case. So our base case is a 3-year trailing average, for example, using the silver price. Then a sensitivity table showing, well, at 10% lower, it's these are the numbers. At 15, 25% lower, that's them. And at 10, 15, 25% higher, these are what the numbers would look like. And you can do the same thing regarding costs, mining costs as well. And run a number of different sensitivities so people can understand, well, okay, they use the 3-year trailing average of silver at this price, but silver right now is $90. So what what would that look like? So that's how we'll be fixing our pricing for that. It's also fair to put out at the same time what a spot price numbers would look like as well, just for full
Absolutely
information.
wild numbers. Look forward to reading that document. Going to see some pretty interesting IRR on on what spot would look like. In terms of your projects, are these like primary sort of silver projects, or do you have a lot of other? Or are they polymetallic? Silver is not necessarily silver in this day and age. A lot of people talk about things when for your projects are what's the typical sort of metal makeup?
So with Colombo, what we're reporting is all silver. There's another probably 10% base metal associated with it, but we're reporting silver numbers. La Negra reporting all silver numbers. La Cigarra is all silver numbers. And then
Pro material.
Promontorial is about 40% silver.
So why don't we talk about some fun stuff? Approximately how many shares are outstanding right now?
We've got about 89 million shares outstanding currently.
And is that before this announced bought deal financing is complete?
Yeah, that's before this financing. That's right.
And how much are you estimating, like what's been announced so far in terms of the bought deal? What's the size of it and approximately how many shares will be issued?
Well, it was upsized to 16.75 million. And so that's going to be roughly another 8 million shares or just shy of that.
And this is one of those no warrant financings. They're actually just selling shares. Is that a fun place to be?
Well, that's always a great thing to do if you don't have to issue warrants for more dilution and overhang. We're currently cleaning up a number of warrants that are all in the money between now and May of this year, which has the potential for bringing in approximately another $13 million.
Excellent. And approximately how many warrants are sort of like outstanding in total, and what would be this sort of strike price that you're talking about?
24 million warrants outstanding. Out of that, there are about 14 million that expire between February and May of this year at prices of 110, 158, and 140.
Excellent. And you indicated that can bring in another like 13 or so million
Yeah,
dollars. And
approximately.
and so you've got this announced financing has been upsized. I guess we'll see if it gets upsized again, but that's going to be up to the forces that be. But that's going to hopefully bring in at least 16 million. And then what was sort of the last sort of like publicly sort of stated cash balance that you guys have?
Well, our current cash balance is approximately 19 million.
Excellent. So you'll have a good treasury size there. So would this financing sort of take you through the balance of like 2026? Like if you needed to put your head down and just go bang out those 50,000 meters of drilling and pay for your PEA and operations of the company?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the 50,000 meters was in fact financed by the previous financing. So this is a top up. So we're in a really good position to execute on all these programs.
Excellent. And in terms of investors looking for coming catalysts, you mentioned earlier a few things that they should watch for. Maybe you could just reiterate again what sorts of catalysts we should be watching for over the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, lots of drilling, lots of drill results from Colombo, and then Q2, the PEA at La Cigarra. And then depending what those numbers are, will be follow-on work of that PEA.
Excellent. And what about sort of in the sector? Are you guys looking at maybe taking on any projects, or are you guys maybe looking to monetize a project? What's sort of the environment sort of looking like? We've started to see a little bit of sort of on more advanced development or in production type scenarios. Are we going to see some of that trickle down to some of the explorcos?
Well, yeah, eventually you are, and the developers first. So we're positioning ourselves to become a developer with this PEA and get ourselves higher up that queue, because it is our objective to advance these down the path of economic assessment, PEA, pre-feas, feasibility, and then sell the projects or sell the company. That's the overarching direction. And the best way to do that is take all the steps necessary to be able to finance a mine. So you eventually need to get a positive feasibility study and start getting all your permits in place, etc., and de-risking the projects as much as you can along the way, and that attracts the best buyers. And so that's the path we're on. Our objective is to sell these projects, and that's what we're executing. So expectations at some point we hopefully will get some strong bids, and we can put that then to our shareholders.
So, Jim, you've been through like a few mining cycles. This isn't your first rodeo. What do you think about this one? This one, we've got a few things that are a little different this time. I hate it when people say, it's different this time, but there's a few things kind of related to what's been happening with sort of precious metals and gold. Really, we've heard a lot more of the discussion on sort of the devaluation of like dollar, and also the US dollar not being necessarily the de facto sort of world trading currency sort of anymore. We've got massive fiscal sort of deficits with global governments, and then the wonderful crypto stuff that was getting in our way a few years ago doesn't seem to be working as much anymore. A lot more focus. So, what do you think, as somebody who's an executive, been in the industry for a while, seen a few different cycles? What's interesting about this one?
Well, it's I don't think it's that different than any other cycle. We've got, mind you, we've got a lot of geopolitical factors in the background maybe we didn't see in the last two cycles. But some of the things remain the same. We've got a lot of debasement of the fiat currencies. That's really what's driving the gold. And then silver always follows. And then silver is being further tested and stressed with 6 years of running deficit in terms of consumption versus production of new silver. And so you're getting a squeeze occurring with above ground stock availability that's showing up and perhaps explaining some of this wild volatility that we see in the silver market. And so the combination is really great. Our view has been for some years now that once we do get into a strong silver bull market, that we're going to have that for several years. I mean, the last one really was the 2002 to 2012 period. And then we had a brief spike in 2020, which probably signaled the bottom, and then a long build into a bull market from there. So our view is that this is going to be a pretty strong, sustained silver market because of the fundamentals, and that when things settle down, we'll see some, eventually get into a sideways trend on the silver price that'll last for some time. But that wherever that ends up, it's going to be much higher than the old one, in our opinion.
Yeah, I guess the cure for prices is low prices. It seemed to be hard for silver. There's not a lot of silver producers out there, and even those weren't really like making any money. So hence why there wasn't a build out of new mines and things, just because the economics weren't really there due to the low prices, which I guess has sort of impacted supply. And now there's quite a lot of industrial use for silver as well. I think it's used a lot in like solar and technology and other sort of other sorts of use cases. At what point do people start looking at sort of alternatives for silver for industrial use, or are the alternatives very poor?
Well, I'm not sure what price that is, but there is some price, and I don't know what price that is where you start to get substitution. Most substitutions are poor substitutions for silver. It's the best electrical conductor we have. And so it's not that easy to replace. And to replace it, you have to do retooling of your plants. So it's not all that simple. And, but at some point, it would reach a stage where there would be substitution. What seems to be happening is just technological advancements with solar panels becoming more efficient and requiring less silver, but at the same time, they're producing a lot more solar panels than they used to. So we're still consuming much more silver than we did in the past for solar panels. Yeah, it's a good question. It's not easy to answer. There is a price point where you will start to see substitution at some point. Don't really know where that is.
Well, that's all right. Good answer. What's sort of the typical day in your life sort of looking like? What's keeping you busy these days?
Keeping track of all the drill results and the work we're doing, and a number of different programs that we got going underway now, and the different things we're doing in terms of setting things up for mine permitting in the future. The PEA now, La Cigarra, keeping an eye on that silver market, judging what we should be doing based on that market trend, and if we should be adjusting or not adjusting. And that's what's on our mind.
Do you have? Yeah, are you going to be exhibiting or attending any other conferences upcoming?
We'll be at the PDAC in Toronto, would be the next one. And we'll have a core shack there. So we'll be displaying some of the core from Colombo. That's going to
Excellent.
be a great show.
Excellent. I'll be there, and I look forward to seeing some of that. Hopefully, there'll be a few shiny pieces. Sounds like you have some pretty interesting grades. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you've had like over 7,000 grams per ton in some of your sampling and maybe drill results there at Colombo. Pretty exceptional sort of results.
Yeah, we got some pretty high grades in individual samples. There's no question about it. Some spectacular composite samples too, 34 meters, a half kilo, 98 meters, over 200 grams per ton. Some really thick and rich zones within these vein systems.
Excellent. And maybe for those of my viewers that aren't familiar with you, maybe you could just quickly explain a little bit about who you are, your background, how long you've been sort of in the metals space.
I've been a geologist, graduated in 1983, and then I got into the junior exploration space in 1988. Entered it actually 3 weeks after the market crash of 87. So that began a new education. And then putting together junior companies and finding projects for them, making discoveries. The most significant project that I was involved as a principal putting together was called National Gold, and we bought the Mulatos deposit from Placer Dome and Kennecott the year 2000, very bottom of the gold market. They practically gave that away as 4 million ounce gold resource called Mulatos in Sonora, Mexico. Sold it for $12.5 million. They transferred the property to us for a down payment of $50,000. but nobody would finance it because it was uneconomic. Gold was 300, went to 265. You couldn't even get a meeting. It was unbelievable. So we ended up doing a JV with John McCluskey and Chester Miller with Alamos Minerals, another junior, Vancouver. That we amalgamated those two in 2003. That became Alamos Gold. And I left the board in 2012, I think it was, afterwards. And that was my introduction to Mexico, but that was one of the most significant deals I've been involved with in terms of multiple of success, from what the market cap was at merger to what it ended up being when I stepped off the board, never mind what it is today.
Well, there you go. It shows good. That's a long time to be sort of like working away in Mexico. I'm sure. How often you do yourself, with having a bit of a geological background? I know you got staff and guys that sort of, people that are qualified for that and doing the exploration. How often does somebody like yourself go to project? When's the last time you've been to Colombo?
I'll be down there at least once every quarter. We've got a drill right now. It's a really well laid out program. We know what we need to do. Grid drilling on these zones is the next step, just to cover them off. So it's quite a systematic process at the moment. So once we get enough new results together, we go down, check on things, see things on the ground, and we have. In addition to that, we've got weekly meetings with Dale Britliff, the VP of Exploration, is down there more often. And the team in place is just fabulous. The guys we have in place in Mexico have been with us anywhere from in the management side, or the senior geologists in that, anywhere from about 8 years to over 15 years now, and they're 16 years, some of them. So really, really strong team of guys down there. They've been making these discoveries for us, so can't say enough about it.
Great. Well, you say hi to Dale for me. Back probably 17, 18 years ago, we used to drink a few beers together when he was just a young whippersnapper getting into the business. Smart guy. It was nice to catch up with him November, I guess, just not last November, the November before. We were both found ourselves in Switzerland. Anyways, really nice to see that he's sunk his teeth into a significant operation and is getting to work with a great sort of leader and mentor such as yourself. So excellent stuff. Any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Well, just look forward to those results, Keir, and keep it in.
Excellent. Well, I wish you lots of success getting your bot deal sort of closed up. Excellent to be able to do that with no warrant. That's sort of showing the strength of the market and strength of your sort of opportunity. Nice to see that. We're starting to see a few more of those, and it's great to get rid of those sort of like warrant overhangs and make people think twice before they're going to sell your shares. So, Jim, thank you for your time. Really appreciate the update, and we'll definitely sort of stay tuned.
Okay. Thanks, Keir. Appreciate it.